you have prolonged periods of heavy rain, dense cloud cover, and then combined with the short winter days, living off-grid is hard. We rely on our solar system to charge our phones, to power our laptops so we can work from home. What else? To run our fridge freezer, and bear in mind it's a very small fridge freezer, and also power a few lights that we have inside. But when the weather's been like it has been recently, there's not even enough solar in the day to power all of those things, let alone excess energy to recharge our battery banks to allow us to power all those things in the evening. And that's been a bit stressful. As a result, we're having to rely on our trusty petrol generator a lot more than we would like to as a backup, just to keep everything ticking over. But one big issue with that is that we are using the generator when the weather is bad and mostly heavy rain, and the generator is having to sit outside in the rain, which really is not healthy for it. So we've got about 2, maybe 3 hours at best this morning where we're not going to have any rain. So I'm going to try and utilize this time to build a shelter to keep the generator protected from the rain, because I'm going to need it this afternoon as I've got a job planned down on the tiny house. Well, the rain came much earlier than anticipated, probably against the advice of any health and safety officer out there. I carried on with the chop saw in the rain. It wasn't too heavy though, but managed to get everything done safely, got the chop saw away before we got too wet, and went and had lunch, and now I've come back out and I've started putting it together. I've made the frame of the roof. There'll be supporting struts in the middle as well to fix a roofing sheet to. There'll be a leg coming off each corner, and then this is going to go round on 3 of the sides, supported to the legs for some support, with an open end at the front so I can access the controls on the generator. One thing I will say is I cannot wait until in the future when I can have a workshop of some sort, or even like just a big table to work on, because working on the dirty, wet floor that's a bit uneven is not ideal, but it's necessary right now because that's all I've got. When I cut the roofing sheet, I realised I hadn't really given too much thought to the roofing, and it posed a bit of an issue. So I've had a bit of a rethink about the construction, and off camera I've actually taken the whole thing apart, and I'll show you what I've done. So I'd initially made this so the slope of the roof went from the front of the generator to the back, so it was from the longest side to the back. When I then came to put the roofing sheet on, I realised because of the width of the roofing sheet I was going to have to overlap it, and it just didn't really fit well, and there was going to be lots of wastage. So what I've done now is made it so that it slopes on the long side, and that then means I can just use half of the roofing sheet I've got, and it fits perfectly and slopes back. So it was a bit of an effort taking it apart and putting it back together again, but definitely worth it, because now I can wheel the generator in from the short side, and I think it's just going to work much better. Now I just need to get the roof screwed on. I've got these fittings which are from the manufacturer. They have like colour matching tops. And there we have it, one little cozy home for a generator. I'm actually pretty happy with how it's turned out. You know, I was a bit worried it was going to be a bit heavy, a bit cumbersome to try and lift around the land, but actually it's pretty light. So now I need to get the generator house, the generator, as well as some scaffolding down to the tiny house, ready for the next job. I'm honestly chuffed with that. I know it's basic, but it's the simple things, you got to enjoy them. Well, I got the generator and these lights down here because With this dark weather, it's been impossible to really do anything in here, let alone try and film in here. And typically I've gone and got everything down, got it set up, and it's brightened up outside and I don't even need it on. But it's good to know I've got this for future when the weather gets dark again. For those of you that have seen previous videos I've done, you'll know that this wall behind me is the one that we want as a feature stone wall in the tiny house. The problem being is that it's covered in all this concrete mortar and it's just an absolute mess. So Victoria's going to help me get the scaffolding up because doing it by myself is just a recipe for disaster and I don't want to go to A&E. And we're going to apply this muriatic acid to it and hopefully that's going to get it off the face of the stones and hopefully do enough to weaken the pointed mortar between the stones to make it much easier for me to get it out. Right, I've just wet down the walls. Now I need to mix up some of the muriatic acid and get some PPE on, some protection on. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit nervous about this because I know that this muriatic acid or hydrochloric acid is pretty strong stuff and you have to take a lot of precautions. With that being said, I've seen other people use it on YouTube videos and they're not wearing anything and they're touching areas where they've applied it. So I'm going to take all the precautions and put safety first, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. Time to apply it to the wall.
Oh,
get out.
got the fumes.
Oh my God. Right. I was not prepared for that at all. I don't know about you. Everywhere I'd read or seen people do it, I mean, granted, I think most of the time they've been outside, but they were only wearing like gloves or protection. Nobody was wearing a respirator or anything, but the fumes that came off that, it literally like fizzled and then there was plumes of like fumes that came off of it and the smell is horrendous. We're just gonna leave it to settle for a bit, but I don't know about you. I don't really know if it's wise to be using that indoors.
No, it didn't seem like it.
No. So we've just been chatting about where we go from here with this wall. I don't know about you, but to me that wasn't effective enough that that's gonna get off all of the mortar.
Not on its own, no.
It might work, I think, if it's just on the thinner stuff that's on the face, but I think we need something more mechanical, whether it's just hammering, chiseling everything and it just take it forever, or whether there's some other tool. I know other people have recommended sandblasting or a needle hammer for an air compressor. I think I'm leaning more towards the needle hammer or needle scaler, I think they call it in America. The thing about it is, even if we don't do this feature wall, this is all on the outside of the building as well. All four sides, it's really caked in it. And of course, on the inside, you know, we can consider just plastering over it and leaving it be, but on the outside, that's not an option. We need to get rid of it from the outside. Another thing as well, I think doing it on the inside, the fumes that came off of that, I mean, I don't even know with a respirator whether I'd feel comfortable with that. I think if we are going to do the whole thing, it would have to be once the roof's off and there's just ample
ventilation.
Yeah.
Yes. Just to give you an idea of the smell, it's like highly chemical rotten eggs and drains.
Yeah, toxic sewage. Unfortunately, that's going to be another loss notched down for today because we've tried a few different things on this now. So I think now it's going to be see if we can acquire a needle hammer and maybe give that a go.
Yeah.
Right, on to the next thing.
This well is so full. A few weeks ago it was probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 meters lower than it is now.
Oh, it's got very cold in the last half an hour, but the sun's trying to break through, so hopefully it's going to be a bit nicer. So you'll have seen in previous videos that it's a bit of a task to get tools and materials down to the tiny house because it's so far away from the top end of the property, and soon we're going to have to get you know, supplies delivered, bigger things like lumber and roof tiles and things like that, and carrying it down by hand is really not going to be too viable. So
No.
what's the plan?
Today we want to try and make a driveway.
Well, not really a driveway, like a track. It's not going to be a posh thing, it's going to be a very rugged track, but it might not be accessible for trucks and things like that because there's part of it that's quite steep with a few bends. But even if we can get the van down here,
Even if it's just for us.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
just being able to get stuff in the van and bring it down, that will be a huge help. So I think the first step is we need to finalise the route that it's going to take. Well, that's the route mapped out. Well, we think that's going to be accessible anyway. Now it's time to hop in the van and give it a go. Did the van just unlock itself?
No, I think it locked you out.
Oh, there we go. Right, let's give it a go.
So, how was that?
Surprisingly easy, to be honest with you. Yeah, I was a bit worried coming down, but actually it feels steeper when you walk it.
You made it.
Yeah, I'm actually pleasantly surprised. That was, yeah, much easier than I thought it was going to be.
A lot less hairy than
A lot
some
less
trips.
hairy. The first part is really steep and I thought it was going to be a problem, but just coasted straight down. Even though there's quite a bit of soft land down here, because in the past this particular plot has obviously been heavily ploughed and the ground is very, very soft. But, you know, the van took it in its stride.
Smooth sailing.
Yeah.
The old Bilingo performs
Yeah,
again.
well done. I mean, this van has really been put through its paces more than most normal working vans. When I think of some of the places we've driven it since we've been in Portugal.
And got stuck.
And got stuck, yeah. But now we're down here, I'm gonna do a quick 3-point turn, and I think I'm just gonna do a number of tries up and down, keep running up and down, and really get this track firmly in place. Ah, well, that didn't go according to plan, did it?
Spoke too soon.
Yeah, spoke too soon. Just tried to set a time lapse going to then show just how many times we're going to go back up and down to just reinforce the track. Not even have we got up once, and we are stuck. So you can see here how deep this has gone on this side. And at the back, I mean, the back doesn't seem to be as bad as the front. I think it's just going in the track.
I can't believe we got stuck.
I can. Alright, that'll do.
No movement. Spinning.
As you can probably tell by the light and the sky behind me, a fair few hours has passed since we filmed last, and that's because it's been pretty stressful. The van was well and truly stuck. We're losing light. We were literally about to give up, and we've just managed to get it out. There's Victoria in the driver's seat. And let me show you the absolute mess this vehicle was in. As you can see, we sunk very deep, and I think what had happened was the underside of the car, basically it sunk so deep with the tyres, the underside of the car got stuck on there. Yeah, so what we ended up doing was basically having to jack the vehicle up, get as much gravel and rocks and just, you know, things with texture under the tyre as possible, and then we just slowly kept letting the jack down until it could actually, you know, touch that stuff and get it out. But I'm so glad we've got it out. I think for now, what do you reckon? We're just gonna have to try and get it up and out another way, because we're due tons of rain over the next couple of days. So I think I just need to get it out, and just, I'm worried now about getting it up this hill.
Yeah, and sunset.
And sunset. Let's go. Well, after yesterday's stressful events, I nipped out this morning and I went to the local builder's merchant and I had a load of gravel and a load of tout-venant delivered, and I'm going to lay that over the track that I drove down. And what that's going to do is just firm up all the ground, and it should make a nice solid track so we never get stuck again. I continued working until it got dark last night, and then I've got up early this morning and I've shoveled all the rest of the gravel and got that laid down. Unfortunately, I'm a little bit short, probably by about 30 to 40 meters, but it's Christmas in a few days, so the remaining gravel is going to have to wait because I'll have to wait for the builder's merchant to open back up again. So now I'm going to head back up to the top and try and get shoveling as much of this tout-venant as possible, because at the moment we have got 4 cubic meters blocking our driveway. Well guys, I think that's me done. I'm absolutely spent. I've been going up and down this hill like a yo-yo with this wheelbarrow, and it's exhausting. I think it's time to put down tools and have a break for Christmas. Wishing you all the merriest of Christmases, a very, very happy new year, and I'll see you soon.